Maybe you are thinking of becoming a language teacher or tutor on Italki. I started teaching on this platform in May 2025, and in this video I will tell you a little bit about my experience and things that I learned along the way. I applied on this platform at the end of April 2025, and about 2 weeks later I got an email with good news that I was accepted and that I had to watch some videos to learn more about the platform and about how Italki works. On the 11th of May I had finished everything and my profile was live. The first week I didn't have any lessons, the second week only one, and after that it started growing more rapidly. First 3 lessons, and 4, then 5, then 7, etc. I teach Dutch and Flemish, which is actually Belgian Dutch, on the platform, which are relatively small languages. Most of my students have moved to Belgium and want to learn Belgian Dutch to be able to find a job and to integrate in society. But I also have some students from all over the world who are learning Dutch as a hobby and would like to learn more about Belgian Dutch. And some of my students also live in the Netherlands. One of my first mistakes on Italki was that I didn't open enough time slots. I was a little bit afraid that I would be overwhelmed by too many students, but that didn't happen. So if I could go back in time, I would open many more available time slots in my calendar. The first lesson that I had was a conversation lesson with someone who had A1 according to his profile. I had sent him a message to thank him for his booking and to tell him that if he had any other questions, he could always reach out to me. When the lesson started, I was quite nervous because it was my first lesson on the platform, but apparently he didn't want a conversation lesson. He wanted to learn the language from scratch. He only knew one word, so I improvised a little and learned him some basics. What I learned from this experience is that it's always a good idea to send a message with a question what they would like to learn or improve. By doing that, it's much easier to prepare lessons to the student, because the level on their profile is not always their real level, and a lot of students book conversation lessons even though they have to learn everything from the beginning. At the beginning, my conversation lessons were also a bit cheaper than my other lessons, because you don't need as much preparation for conversation lessons. At the beginning, my prices for conversation lessons were about $5 cheaper than for the other lessons. And because of that, everyone just booked conversation lessons, even though they had to learn the language, the grammar, the vocabulary, etc. They were not able yet to have a conversation. So now all my prices are the same. And even now, sometimes people still book conversation lessons, even though they are not able to have a conversation yet. They have to start learning the language from zero. That's the main reason why I always send a message to thank them for their booking, but also what they would like to learn and improve. One of my strengths on the platform is that I like learning languages and that I can also help quite a lot of people in their native language. I have already taught in English, French, Spanish and German, but most of the time I teach in Dutch. A lot of my students at the moment have the B1 level, so then I hardly speak another language. I'm also visible on other platforms or on social media. I have a podcast, a YouTube channel and an Instagram profile, and I often hear from people that they listen to my podcast or that they follow me on Instagram. Sometimes I get DMs on Instagram to ask how much it costs to learn Dutch with me. And so a big part of my students on Italki got to know me on other websites or social media platforms. If you want to attract more students, I think this is a good way to find new students. I have taught about 500 lessons by now, and almost all of my students were really nice and friendly. I haven't really experienced anything negative on the platform, just a man who didn't want to read the female parts in my presentations, or someone who cancelled a lot of lessons last minute or just didn't show up without telling me anything. But apart from that, it has been a really nice and rewarding experience. So I can really recommend teaching on Italki. If you have any questions or doubts, feel free to let me know in the comments and I will answer them as soon as possible. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Bye!